I thought it was going to be a grand slam, but it turned out to be a single. Thrown searching to the side and focus more on asking their questions to AI to get the answer that they're looking for, as opposed to going through the BS of advertising and all the other stuff to dissect the information. Now, students are going to have access to that same information.
Yep.
And I believe that that's where a lot of innovation is also going to come.
I know guys that all they do is creative and they do really well, but I would argue that it is probably the least scalable structure as far as acquisitions that you could have, hands down, bar none.
That helped me realize that, like, you could be in real estate and it doesn't matter your age. As long as you have the desire and you have the willingness to learn and build a team, go for it.
Welcome back to the Revamp podcast. Super excited to bring you another awesome guest today. If you are new here, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It helps me continue to bring awesome guests. And I really am excited for this one. I'm not saying that just because like you're here, but some of the things that you're into, I love as well. We're going to get into some AI in real estate. We're going to talk about acquisitions. I'm excited to have you here today, man. Luis Vanderhorst.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Dude, fantastic. So let's go back to the beginning. So I know that you transitioned from a W-2 into real estate full-time. What was that like? And what were you doing before?
Yeah, good question. So I was a school teacher before, inner city. I taught sixth grade and seventh grade social studies, 3 years each.
Okay.
And the transition was interesting because I never would have thought that I would be a full-time entrepreneur, real estate investor. And working up to that was very eye-opening. I had to rewire my thinking and not think like a W-2 employee.
Totally different world, right?
So now like running my own business, managing teams and all of that. So it was eye-opening.
What got you interested in real estate in the first place?
Just seeing online what was happening, like seeing some of the contacts that I had, flipping properties, renovating them. I feel like I always enjoy taking something that was neglected or bad and bringing it to like its best potential. And I saw that in real estate, and that's what drew me to it. And then I started asking questions like, "Oh, you did that? How were you able to do that? How can I do the same?" And I think being a teacher, I've always been, and something that I try to instill into my students is like, don't just learn social studies. I'm here to teach you social studies, but beyond that, I want to teach you life skills that you can learn and apply wherever you go. And by that, I mean like become a lifelong learner. Because today I'm your social studies teacher, but I don't know what's going to be happening next. You guys are students now, and you think you want to be a YouTuber, you want to be a gamer, and that's going to be your whole life. But who knows if life might take you a different direction. And if you have life skills, you have those transferable skills, you can go and apply that to anything that you decide to do.
Yeah, man, I love that. What made you want to be a teacher in the first place?
Good question. So I grew up in a home without a father figure. My dad was not present at the time, and he died at an early age. So for me, growing up was realizing that there were areas in my life, blind spots that I needed some guidance in. And someone that was my 8th grade teacher at the time, he encouraged me and did some things to challenge me. That means calling my mom because I was the class clown, and I would do my work and then I would go for a round, crack jokes, and everybody will have a good time except the teacher.
Sounds about right. I can relate to that. I can relate very well.
And it's funny how like life did a whole 180, and then I became a teacher and I had to deal with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So that put things into perspective for me, because now I didn't just see a student that was goofing off, playing around, quote unquote, wasting my time, getting in the way of what I wanted to do. But I saw them as someone that needed attention.
You saw you.
I saw myself, exactly. And this teacher challenged me and encouraged me to do better. And looking back even more, I realized that my mom was a teacher in the Dominican Republic, where I was born. And I realized that I enjoy learning. I love learning. I love exploring things. And I don't just want to know the basics. Sometimes that's a pro and a con that I feel that I have. I could go down a rabbit hole, and we're going to be talking about things later. So putting everything together from my childhood to that experience with that teacher to my passions, I realized that becoming a teacher was a no-brainer.
It made sense to you.
It made sense for me.
I fully understand. Okay. So you get into that, you become a teacher, and you were doing that for about how many years?
I taught for 6 years.
6 years. Okay. Gotcha. You see other people, social media, doing some real estate stuff, and you kind of catch the bug. Mm-hmm. So I'll ask it this way, because I doubt it'll be wrong. Did you read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I did after the fact.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah. So my first investment property, I bought it while living with my mom.
Okay.
I became a teacher, started earning some money while still living with my mom. And what I did was, the money that I had saved up from my time teaching to like even before college, I used that as a down payment.
Nice.
I did a conventional loan on a property. And what's funny is that I thought my first deal was going to be this home run. I love baseball, so I may throw some baseball puns here and there.
Do it up.
I thought it was going to be a grand slam, but it turned out to be a single. Just getting to first base, and it was just what I needed at the time. And it helped me build up the confidence and learn the basics, so that then I could graduate to other things, the other deals that I have done.
I love it. So what was the game plan with that property? Like, what did you intend to do with it? Like, flip it, rental, move in, pull equity? What was the game plan going in?
The game plan was to keep the tenant that was there.
Okay.
I bought it. It was already tenant occupied. And we hear it often. People are like, oh, there are no good deals out there. I can't find anything. I have to buy this burned down, condemned property. And it's like, no,
There's deals. Yeah.
You could buy a turnkey. And that was another term that I had to learn, but a turnkey rental, something that you don't have to do too many changes to, and just have the transfer of ownership.
Yep.
So I bought this property from he was actually the secretary of the RIA back in my county.
Okay.
And he was like, hey, I have this property on the market. I know you're looking for deals. Do you want to meet me at the library? I'm happy to walk you through the numbers. And it was like no pressure. It was like, hey, let's have a conversation. I want to show you this. I know you want to learn.
Yep.
And me, I was like drooling. I'm like, oh, let's do it. Because he was in his late 70s.
Okay.
Late 70s as an investor, And that helped me realize that, like, you could be in real estate and it doesn't matter your age. Mm-hmm. As long as you have the desire and you have the willingness to learn and build a team, go for it.
Yeah, man.
So we met up. He was like, this is the income. These are the expenses. This is the cap rate. This is how you evaluate a rental if it's a good fit. It's on the market for $42,000. It's been sitting there. No one has bought it. I know you're looking. If it sounds like something you may be interested in, let me know. I'll sell it to you for $37,000. And I went home.
You were interested.
I went home and started thinking about it. I was interested. So long story short, I ended up buying it. best decision ever. And then after I had that property, I started learning about wholesaling. And then after that was when I finally read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
I love it, man. It's always at least a part of everyone's journey.
Yes.
It's the great connector between all of us.
For me, I feel like it was the book that really helped me understand this from a different perspective was the book by Matt Faircloth, Raising Private Capital.
Okay.
And it helped me see the side of a lender, what lenders look for, and how regular people could tap into capital that regular people have in a CD or in a retirement account that is actually losing value due to inflation. Yep. Stuff they don't teach you in schools.
Absolutely, man.
You know? So I started learning about that, and that's when I pivoted and switched my model. Now, instead of me having to save the 20% every time, I was like, I got to find more people like that.
Yeah.
More private lenders.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the deals that I have bought have been creatively.
Okay. Sweet. So what year was that you did that first deal? 37 grand. I mean, that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. Don't ask me how much it's worth today. I would have bought the whole block.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet.
That was 2018.
2018. Okay.
Yes.
Hindsight, man, hindsight sucks, right? It's like I look back at, when I was wholesaling a lot more houses than I am today. And it's like, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it's like, man, I wish I bought everything. I wish I never wholesaled anything,
Yes.
But how could we have known, right?
I kick myself too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hindsight. So you said you kind of fell into wholesaling after that, and then you started doing creative deals also. So what was that like?
So I realized that for you to be able to do an assignment of contract, for those that are listening, that's what a wholesaling deal is. When you wholesale, you assign, you put a house under contract, and then you sell that contract to someone that is going to buy it and either fix that property as a flip to sell it on the market or to keep it as a rental. And I was like, I can do this without being licensed. Let me look into it, because teachers don't make a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of money growing up as a teacher. I made okay money, but it was not anything, extraordinary. And I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for that experience and everything. So being able to use private money helped me to be able to buy these deals with other people's money, OPM. You hear him be mentioned a lot. So I will buy them, fix them up, and then do the bird, which is the buy, renovate, rent, repeat, and refinance. And then I will pay off the lenders, and I will move on to the next deal like that. So it worked out, and it was a win-win situation. And that's now like the core of what I do. I like rentals. I like doing the bird whenever I can. And for what I tell people that are listening, because I get asked this a lot of times, it's like, hey, should I just quit my job and go and do this full time? My opinion is don't quit your job, especially if you're growing, you're learning, you're building your relationships, you are learning the basics of things.
Yep.
Because when it comes to refinancing, banks love you.
Absolutely.
They drool over someone that has a W-2 when they come to them, because for banks is more stability. Whereas an entrepreneur does not have that track record yet.
Yep.
And in addition to that, I believe that people should open up an LLC while they still have their W-2, if that's their goal. If they want to work their W-2, I know many people do, and that's all they want to do, and just keep the rental aside. That's another option.
Yep.
That's the beauty about real estate. There's no one size fits all.
So many ways.
So many ways to skin the cat.
Yep.
So I would say open up an LLC, put a property there or two, start generating income. So at least you have 2 years of track record of your P&L, your income tax return. Then if you decide to transition into that entrepreneur full-time role, you have that history there.
Yep. I love that. That's fantastic. Yeah, fantastic advice, I think, for anybody across the board, you know?
Thank you.
Okay. So the deals that you were buying after that first one, you started doing creative deals. So you said you were bringing in private money, and then was it like seller financed as well? Or like, what was the creative aspect of the deals that you were purchasing?
Good question. By creative, I mean, I bought them with none of my money down.
Okay. Got it.
So not creative in the sense
like
that
subject to or anything
correct.
like that. Okay.
No,
Got it.
I have actually not done any subject to. I've done creative where we have bought the property and then let the tenant stay.
Gotcha.
Like that. So that's to the extent of it. I have not gone down the rabbit hole of creative.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm with you. It's funny because it's like out of all the deals that I've done and everything, I've still never done like that. Yeah, I guess we've done some creative deals too, but like subject to or anything like that, or seller carrybacks, anything of that nature. And it's funny because I actually had like an acquisitions guy a couple years ago that he was deep down that rabbit hole. Like he was doing sales for me for a while. He was really good. He was really skilled. And I guess he got into some like subject to courses and things of that nature. And it was like every lead that came in, he's like, oh, we should do like a sub 2 on this. We should do like a, seller sandwich lease wrap. And I'm like, dude, we're not doing any of that. Like we're just doing straight cash deals.
Yeah.
Like the mental capacity,
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. That's the thing. It's like, I know guys that all they do is creative and they do really well. But I would argue that it is probably the least scalable structure as far as acquisitions that you could have, hands down, bar none. Because it's like the amount of mental energy that goes into any single deal is like crazy.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. So tell me, with raising private money, how did you source like your first private money lender? Because that's the scariest part, right? Is like getting the first person to kind of write you a check, endorse you, say, I believe in you, and make that whole thing come full circle.
Yeah. And you have to treat it as a business. If you don't treat your own company as a business, you see it as a hobby, private lenders are not going to take you seriously.
That's right.
And I learned that just by putting myself in different rooms, going to events, going to meetups, going to conferences, talking to people like, hey, you renovated that property, you flipped that. How do you do it? Or who do you use for the lending? And I didn't know. I would be asking people all these quote unquote personal questions. And what I learned is that people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Absolutely.
It's cliche, but it's so true. And private lenders are the same way. It's funny because a friend of mine were recently talking, and the irony of life is that the people that you see were like flashy and showing all these different things sometimes are the ones that are broke.
Oh, yeah.
By going to these different meetings and events, local and some in other states, I realize that some of the people that are good with their finances, that are well off at times, are very down to earth. They're not flashy. If they can't trust you or give you that backdoor access into their life and what they do, they may not do that. But if they do, you get to learn that, like, wow, like, I'm a Christian and faith is important to me. So this is something that is instilled in me. But everybody should go about life like this, and it's treat everybody with the same level of respect. You just, one, because they're humans, and two, you just never know how they could add value to you, and vice versa as well.
It's the golden rule.
Golden
rule, man.
Yep. Treat people how you want to be treated.
Yep.
And you may have a problem that is lack of funding. They may have a problem that is lack of opportunities
To deploy the capital.
capital.
Yep.
So it's a partnership.
Yep.
And like even when I was a teacher, I never understood the teachers that treated the janitors, the secretary as like third-class citizens. At the end of the day, they're the backbones, in a lot of schools.
Yep.
So from that, I just carry that wherever I go. I treat everybody, and the best opportunities have come from people that I never would have imagined.
Dude, I love that. That's so cool.
So my first lender came from someone that I met in one of the meetings, a really nice lady, more on the introvert, quiet side. She does a lot, but doesn't
flaunt it.
It's not boastful. It's not like swinging it out there, because she's very strategic with who she connects with, and who she discloses that information to. Because what I have learned is like once people learn that you're a lender and you're learning your capital, you get a whole flood of everybody and their mother, wanting to borrow from you.
And a lot of times it's attention that you don't want and the people that you don't want.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's if you could remember anything I said, remember this, that is relationship based.
Yep. How did you have the confidence to even have that first conversation, basically with the intention of, I'm trying to raise money for a deal that I'm buying? Because a lot of people are terrified to have that conversation. I think mostly because people feel that I'm asking you for something. And it's like, I've tried to teach people that it's not you're asking for money. You're not asking for a handout. It's actually me asking you to do this with me. It's like, it's a massive opportunity for you as well. You're going to make money,
Yes.
But did you have that confidence kind of going into it?
I didn't. The approach that I took was, hey, I realized that I had to rewire my thinking. And to add on to what you said, is this, you're presenting an opportunity.
That's right.
And I was like, man, I haven't done any deals. I'm not this like big time flipper, this big time investor. I'm a regular guy.
And that's why I bring that up. The imposter syndrome, everybody freaking experiences
Everybody experiences. And I built a relationship with this person. I saw them at events. I would talk to them, get to know them, get to know everybody else as well. And she started asking me questions. Oh, what are you up to? What are you doing? And I would generally answer, this is my background. I'm learning about this. This is what I'm doing. And then from there, it just evolved into us doing the first deal together. But I had to get over that imposter syndrome and realize that people are people.
Yep.
We're not perfect. We're flawed, But the more you're transparent with others and you let them know where you are in the journey, the more that's gonna build trust and build transparency.
Absolutely.
So when you approach someone, you can be yourself.
Yep.
If they want to be if they want to come on board and be part of it, great. If not, then we're not a good fit.
That's right.
You have to say that to yourself.
Yep.
Because there's going to be some people out there that you don't want to do business with.
Yep.
And vice versa. They don't want to do business with you. So build a thick skin.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You have to, right? And that's the thing is, like that saying, bet on the jockey, not on the horse, right? Like for most people that I've dealt with from a private investor, lender perspective, exactly like you said, all relationship based and everything. And I would venture to say that on every single one of them, they trust me so much higher than they even care about the deal. They almost don't care about the deal. It's like, these are all, really intelligent, like sophisticated investors and everything. Like, they're not idiots. They're not like, hey, I'm going to go give Drew $1 million to buy a shithole in Chester, right?
Yes.
But they care so much more about the relationship they have with me than the deal itself. To your point, it just drives home that the relationship is so much more important than anything else. And exactly what you said, I resonate with so much. Be you. Right?
Yeah.
Like, because if you are you, people can feel that, man. It's just like a real energy. And it's, I know that you're not putting on a front and trying to be somebody that you're not. You're not trying to act like a big shot, big swinging dick developer that does 1 million deals a year. It's
biggest,
like, it's like, that's not what it's about. It's like, be real. It's like, this is what I've done. This is my experience. But they can also see and feel that you're a genuine human, that you care about what you're doing, and you're going to take care of them.
And that leads to relationship first. Evaluate the person first, because, and I learned this through her, is that you can have a smoking deal and it goes south because you have a bad operator.
Absolutely.
Or someone that is shady. Or on the other hand, you can have a good operator or someone that is building a team in place or has a team in place and turn a bad deal into a good deal. And I think that's what she's showing me, that one, like I said, I was not treating this as a hobby. I'm investing in my education. I'm putting myself out there, building the team, and that spoke volumes to her. So my advice to people that are looking to get started on the same boat is just put yourself out there, build a team, and people will see that.
Absolutely, man. I love that. So you continue, you're starting to buy some more deals and everything. And then how does everything progress from there?
I realized that when I was a teacher, I needed to keep my business going. And I was in the middle of the classroom. I'm teaching, leads are coming in. Someone has to process them. They're not going to magically process themselves. So that's when I came across the whole idea of having remote workers, virtual assistants.
I love it.
And I was like, what is that? So I started researching again. And I started off hiring 1, 2, 3 VAs, and that helped me set up so they helped me process the leads, pre-qualify them, and book the appointments.
Okay.
So after school, I would go and meet with the sellers, walk the properties, take pictures. But a lot of the legwork was done up front by my VA team.
Take a step back real quick. So you're doing direct to seller marketing. So
Yes.
What was that form of marketing that you were doing? Was it text message, direct mail?
It was
cold call?
calling, texting.
Okay.
Yeah. We did some SEO as well.
Okay.
And from there, so for those that don't know, when we're talking about SMS or calling, I see that as like you're prospecting. You're reaching out, seeing who raises their hand and says, hey, I'm interested. From there, then you have to take them through your process to see if you're a good fit for them. They're a good fit for you. That's one marketing channel. Then there's inbound, where they're reaching out to you, and that's through SEO. I've done Facebook ads as well and Google.
Okay.
But at the time, I just didn't have the budget.
It's big money. Yeah.
It's big money, yes. So I started off with calling and the texting.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And so with calling and texting, I assume that's why you ended up getting VAs early on, is because you usually end up with a high lead volume and low lead quality.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah. And that was something that I learned later on. You have different conversion cycles. Mm-hmm. Those leads may not turn into a deal right away. They may take months, years.
Yep.
Some of my longest ones have been like 2 years of nurturing, building relationships. And if someone wants to get rich quick in real estate, go do don't do real estate.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say go do like crypto or something or day trading. Because with real estate, unless you're spending money in like inbound marketing or investing in channels like through relationships, in channels that are bringing you more quality leads, it's not going to happen overnight.
That's the truth.
It's not. And I think that I had to learn that the hard way.
We learn everything the hard way, man.
Yeah.
That's
You know what I say?
it's the human nature.
I think that being an entrepreneur is like you get in a plane and you jump off that plane without a parachute, and you build your parachute on your way down.
Absolutely. And I think, honestly, I think that's actually a really good thing. People look at that as being reckless or careless or words like that. But I think it's actually the best way, because over analyzing anything usually is not helpful in any way, shape, or form, right? You're almost always better off making a decision, even if it's wrong, rather than taking too long and delaying to make the perfect decision, because your perfect decision probably isn't going to be right anyway. And I can make a wrong decision and pivot and then react and make the right decision quicker than most people will even make their first decision, right? So I love that.
Yes.
So, all right, you're doing a bunch of outbound and everything. You're generating some leads. What was your intention with that lead generation? Was it, if I get good leads in the door, I'm going to purchase them and renovate and rent them out? Or were you intending a wholesale these or a little bit of both?
The intention with generating those leads was be able to cherry pick the leads that I wanted.
Okay.
And then from there, if there was anything that made sense for some of the investors that I knew, but didn't make sense for me, be able to assign those contracts
Love it.
To the end buyer.
Love it. Okay. So what was the process like of hiring your first VA? Because I know that people usually have a pretty shitty experience doing that. People are usually like, wow, I can hire somebody for $3 an hour. And they don't realize I have no systems, no processes, don't even know what to tell this person to do. Sometimes there's a language barrier. Do I have to train them on how to speak proper English? Like, what was that like for you?
When it comes to VAs, I like to follow a three-step process. And that is like number one, or a three-step vetting process. Number one is like, do they speak English well? Are they fluent? Can I understand them well? Can they also write as well? And if they're on the phone, do they have phone etiquette? Number two is, do they have the skills that I'm looking for? And that is, if I'm hiring for someone on the phone etiquette. If I'm hiring someone to do SMS, are they proper in the way they respond to people? Regardless of me, obviously, yeah, down the line, you want to give them templates, you want to create SOPs for them, but someone should have a basic understanding of that prior to me hiring them. Otherwise, I'm not just hiring for the position, I'm also like teaching them basic stuff that they should already know.
Yep.
Don't do it.
Yep. Fully understand. But I assume you didn't have that three-step process when you hired your first one.
Oh, I got punched, I got kicked, I got chewed. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just assuming. I was assuming that it wasn't, smooth right out of the gate.
No. And then lastly, number three, it will be like, can they mesh well with the culture of our company? And that could be on personality and just demeanor, attitude, stuff like that. Are they go-getters? Are they humble, but like willing to put in the work? Those were the things that I was looking for. And what I realized is that some of the investor friends that I had were lacking in those areas. They were trying to do everything themselves or didn't have the budget to hire someone in the US. Hiring a virtual assistant gave them the opportunity to upgrade or, move on to hiring an in-person team without like coming out of the gate with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
Yep. I love it.
And they were able to graduate. So we started those services that I was using in my own company. I started brokering them to other business owners, investors that needed those things, but they didn't have the time, patience, or systems in place to be able to manage the VAs. And one of the biggest things that I hear is like, oh, I'm paying this VA, but like no work is getting done. Mm-hmm. And someone could manage that VA themselves, or they can hire an agency to manage the VAs for them.
Yep.
So that was the transition from, the real estate to VAs to even starting my agency, Outsource My Life.
Okay.
Which has morphed into AI and automation lately.
Can't wait to get there, man. We're going to dive deep into that. But
we will.
To dig a little deeper into that. So you're doing lead gen, you're qualifying with your VAs and everything, you're buying more deals, but you're also seeing what you're doing and what you're setting up is an issue that a lot of other entrepreneurs that you're friends with have the same issue, right? Okay. And where were you originally like sourcing some of your VA talent from? Because everybody knows of like the sites like Fiverr or Upwork. Like, were you using, when you first started hiring them, like were you using sources like that?
I was, like Fiverr, Upwork. And then I didn't want to fall into the guidelines of those platforms because you are limited in what you can do. And also the pool that you have. And before you realize it, you're hundreds of dollars in debt, just on credit to source through the lead, and they may not be as good. So I created my own system, and I will go to like the Philippines and hire there, South America, and these different areas where I knew the talent pool was high, and many other companies were already sourcing candidates from there.
Okay.
So I would cast a net and run some ads to find them.
I love it.
And then put them through our process so that now, before I even speak with them, I know what they sound like. I know what their experience is like. I know what kind of compensation they're looking for. I know what other commitments they have. I know their personality tests, and I feel like we have it down packed pretty well, to the point that it's easier to identify who the top talents are. And then from there so we got done with phase 1 and 2. Then number 3 is like, can they fit in with the culture that we have or the culture that our clients have?
Got it. I love it. What year was this that you brought on like your first VAs into your company?
2019.
2019. Okay.
Yes.
And then about how long was it until you kind of realized that gap in the market? And I guess, what was your first client that you brought in that you were placing VAs for them? Was that the same year?
Later in that year.
Later
yes.
in that year. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that was them needing help with administrative support. So once they were already generating their own leads, but they needed help with managing those leads and with transaction coordination. So some of those VAs play the role of like an admin assistant.
Yep.
More so than fulfilling the lead generation role.
Got it. Which is a brilliant and fantastic use of plugging somebody into a role that, like, man, it's funny. Like, I have so many like mixed opinions and feelings about VAs, and a lot of it is because I'm bitter and I didn't listen to all my friends that were doing it years ago. Probably 6-7 years ago, I had a mentor that was like, oh yeah, like you should definitely hire like an executive assistant, and that like in person, which identified with me in the way that I am. But everybody I knew, like I was in a bunch of masterminds and everybody was hiring VAs to do everything that you just said, like lead qualification, everything, anything administrative, right? Like booking appointment scheduling, everything. And I just never really did it, man. Like I ended up hiring a lot of people in-house, in person instead. So while my buddies are paying like $3 an hour for a task to get done, I'm paying $15, $18 an hour for somebody, you know, to sit in an office and everything. And it's like, I can't complain about it because I still had good results and everything worked out for me. And I think there's actually something to be said about that. Like when you're paying more for something, it kind of forces you, like, I know for me personally, 7-8 years ago when I was still kind of building and setting things up, that if I was, as I'm about to say this, I think I still do the same thing to this day. If I'm only paying like $3 an hour, $5 an hour, whatever it is, like to somebody to complete a task, it's very likely that I'm not going to manage it very well. I'm not going to systematize and set processes as good as humanly possible. And I'm just not going to maximize for effectiveness, right? But on the other end of the spectrum, when I'm paying somebody 5 times more than that, and it's like, dude, it's a burden, you know, this is a lot of money. I'm seeing the money go out every week. It's like, $800 a week for a person in a entry-level role when you're a business just starting out. It's a lot of money, man, right? Yeah. So it forced me as, you know, an unorganized ADHD motherfucker to set systems and processes and have metrics where things are measurable and everything. But yeah, I do look back and like, man, I could have saved so much money if I had done things differently. If I met you, where were you 8 years ago? Why weren't you in my life yet?
Yeah. And I think there's a time and a place for both. It's easier to train staff that you already have in the office because you could overhear them.
Right.
You can go into the computer and show them exactly there. There are ways to do that online. You just have to have the systems and processes. Right. Yeah. But there's different styles. There's pros and cons for both.
Of course.
And I think that the teams, from my experience and how I'm running my business now, is hybrid. The hybrid model is really powerful because then if you have team members that are remote, they can help empower your team that is in person.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so 2019, you start bringing in clients to place VAs in their businesses as well. The number one thing in the timeline that I want to get to is, when did you leave your job as a teacher?
I left in 2022.
Okay.
Yes, and I left because I had already been dabbling, not dabbling. I was like,
you were doing it, man.
I was doing it. Yeah. I was working a full-time job, or I was working a full-time job part-time, quote unquote, and working real estate full-time. And by that, I mean, I was full-on teaching, grading papers, fulfilling my role as a teacher. But then I was working crazy hours after that.
Oh, I fully understand.
As well, to be able to learn. Like, I was like, I got to figure this out. I got to learn. And in 2022, I came across an opportunity where a friend of mine approached me and said, like, hey, Luis, what do I need to do to get you to leave your job? And we start a business together. And long story short, we ended up going into business together and doing wholesaling around our region. And that was basically like kind of like the stepping stone to being full-time as an entrepreneur, because I realized that I was like really good with systems and processes and hiring teams, but I was lacking the project management on renovation piece. And that was something that my business partner had, and he was good at that. So we were able to kind of come together, and he had never used VAs before. and it totally transformed his business from there. Systems as well was not a word in the vocabulary to like we were showing up to meetings, and some of the team members were like showing up with, not him, with paper. And I was like, hey, what if we transition into having it digital? So everything in the CRM, if someone is working remotely or in a different place, we could all see it and track it on there. So we started adding that. And from there, it evolved into like different projects that we were able to do together. And that was also a really tough time with the market. I don't know if you remember 2022, 2023 was a tough time because there were not enough inventory, not enough deals out there. So we had to really pivot and realize that, like, in order for us to keep the business going, we had to make some changes. And there was a time where, we had to let go of staff. And we also ended up realizing that we had a lot going on in our own businesses. So that we decided to dissolve that LLC, that business. But there was a lot that we learned from that experience. And in real estate, you have to be 100%. You have to be willing to come together and realize, like, this deal, how can we take this down? Is this something we can do, or is this something that we have to pass on?
Yep.
And so now after that, they introduced the new law of you have to be licensed to wholesale. So that also led to me pivoting to more buying rather than wholesaling. And that's where I'm focusing more.
I want to go back and I want to pause there for a minute. For 2022, leading up to making the decision to leave your job, what's going through your head?
How am I going to do this? How am I going to be able to provide for my young family and be able to do this in a way that is consistent? So
you were married and had kids at that time in 22. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
How many kids?
At the time, it was one.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I have 3.
God bless.
Thanks. Yeah. And realizing that, like, I have my wife to feed, myself, my daughter, a roof over my head. That was kind of like the fuel that inspired me to keep going out there and doing what I'm, the best I can to provide. And that was and then the business partner approaching me saying, like, hey, I got the funds.
The stars are aligning.
Let's roll. So I said, let's roll.
Yep.
And obviously, with any decision, you want to make sure that you're not just jumping into it. You want to run it by your spouse if you have one. Talked with mentors if you have one. So we did that, and everything checked the boxes, and then from there we did that.
I love that, man.
Yep.
I love that. And that's something that I always love to highlight, because everybody has a job at some point, right? Before they transition into whatever it is that they go into. And dude, that's a really big pivotal moment that's terrifying, right? It's like, it doesn't matter that you were an entrepreneur on the side, even though it's like you were doing it full time anyway. It's like, yeah, but I still have the stability of a W-2 income. I know that I'm going to get a paycheck next Friday or whatever it is. And that's how basically our entire country is wired, right? It's like, go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a job, get a steady paycheck, invest in a 401k, retire once you're at retirement age. And to go against the grain, it just feels like such a massive leap, because it is like speaking to the people that are in that position and they're like, well, I have a track record. I've done some things and I think I'm ready to go full time, but I'm not ready to jump off the ledge. Like, what would you say to that person?
Open up your LLC, put a property there or 2, Because if you are in real estate, banks are one of your biggest partners, banks, lenders, and they're going to ask you for that. So I think that leverage that and start building a team so that when you do take that next step, you're not just taking that step blindly.
Love it.
That's me. I'm more of a calculated risk taker. And I think that at some point, if you realizing that that's what you want to do, at some point, you're just going to have to pull the trigger and go.
Just got to jump.
Just got to jump, because otherwise you start getting into analysis paralysis and never make a decision and never buy a property. And buy your first property. Like, go buy one right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, it doesn't have to be a home run, a single.
Yep. Like you're definitely not quitting your job until you do something, right? Like you got to get things going. Like there's no way that you can just say, I haven't even started yet, but I want to leave my job. It's like, if you want to leave your job, use that as a fuel to go out. And like you said, learn on nights and weekends, go to networking events, start rubbing shoulders with people that are walking the walk that you want to live, and get in, do your first deal, do another deal, learn from people, make mistakes.
Yeah.
And then once you're at that point, jump.
The
water's nice.
Which reminded me, Bigger Pockets podcast.
Okay.
That was another motivation for me to take that next step and learn and soak all that knowledge while I was in the, I guess, the launch phase. Yeah. Or the time when I was getting ready to go full time. The Bigger Pockets podcast was really helpful. And even this one. Like,
absolutely, man.
Consume every episode. If you're looking to learn, like, watch every single episode. And something that I did as well, I don't know, it's just in me. If I listen to someone on a podcast or something and they share, I don't know, a nugget or a tip that resonates with me, I'll reach out to them. You could
Which is so cool.
Connect with the guests on here on online and say, hey, I really appreciate it, what you share in this podcast about this. I would love to learn more about that, or how can I learn more about what you're doing?
Yep.
And from that relationship that you're building, you're adding value to that person because you're letting them know you did your homework, you did your research. That comes off better than like, hey, I want to pick your brain, or like, can I steal your time and you give me everything that you have learned all these years for free? And that's like a slap in the face to some people.
And people that are just starting out, they don't realize that. So it's not like they're doing it to be a jerk off. It's just they don't understand. They don't see that you've spent the last decade of your life investing so much, not just money, but time, effort, energy into learning everything that you do. And it's like, hey, I'll buy you coffee and I want to pick your brain. It's like, I think it's worth a little bit more than that, but you know.
Yeah. And you could narrow it down to three things. One is, if you have one of these three things, you can add value to others. Money, that is extra. You have time. You could be what they call them, the bird dog.
Yeah.
Right. Or three, skills. If you have one of those three things, you can connect with the people you want to connect with and say, hey, I saw you doing this and you mentioned this. I have some capital, or I have these skills, or if you ever need boots on the ground. That is different. That changes the conversation. A whole 180, you know?
Absolutely. And everybody, by the way, has at least one of those things. At least one. Probably two.
Yes.
You know? So like, what is the perfect format then for somebody to reach out to you that basically wants to pick your brain, but they have one of those things? Like, what should they say to you?
Wow. Threw me a curveball there.
I know. Putting you on the spot. Because I'm sure you've gotten them many, many, many times, and I'm sure you've gotten some good ones, right? To your point, it's like when somebody leads with value and they're like, hey, I mean, obviously if somebody says, hey, I have money that I want to invest in your projects, that's a huge and simple one.
What helped me, and this is how I was able to connect with some of the mentors that I have today was like, I would ask, what is important to you at this point in your life? Because I may think what's important to them is money, and they may have all the money in the world.
Yep.
Maybe they just need some time. There's someone to help them with, I don't know, a task or whatever. When I started off, I started off volunteering my time to some of the investors that pour into me.
There it is. Yep.
Because I didn't have the money, but I had time.
That's right.
And I had a drive like you can't imagine. So start with that. What's important to you, and then see if it's a good fit for you. Same thing with the partnership that I was in before. Because going to these events, you meet cool people, really nice people, exciting things going on, and everybody that is new wants to partner with everybody. And that's not a good way to look at it. There has to be a mutual exchange in business. There has to be a mutual exchange, and there has to be a purpose behind it. And when the previous partnership that I was in, like I mentioned, I had the tech knowledge, the systems, VAs. My business partner had access to funds and also the construction knowledge. So we saw that but he was lacking the things that I was really good at. So we saw that as like a good match.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think way too many people that are just looking for a partnership, and we kind of do this by human nature, right? But they look for people that are just like them and often have skills just like them. That's not a partnership. That's a recipe for fucking disaster, man. It's like, you want to have the yin and the yang, right? Like, you don't want to have two of the same half, you know? You don't want somebody that has all the exact same skills as you.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about finding off-market properties. So like, what was it that you were doing when either before or as you went into this partnership? I know you said you were doing some of the SMS and cold calling with VAs, obviously, but what were some of the other strategies you were using to find and locate off-market deals?
We would buy different targeted lists. And nowadays it's a lot easier because you can use AI to be able to score lists for you, and you know who has a higher intent to sell. No, stop bothering people that just have high equity. Just because someone has high equity doesn't mean they're interested in selling.
Yeah.
You're just becoming a pest. But if they're on high equity, absentee owner, tax delinquent, water short of, that's a higher chance that they're going to be open to having a conversation with you.
I like it. I like it. So you're talking about list stacking, looking for multiple layers of motivation.
Yeah, so looking at multiple layers of motivation and realizing that some of your best leads may come from referrals as well. Like meeting people. Some of my best ones have come from referrals.
I think all my best ones have.
Oh, your best ones. Nice. So building those relationships, and that is a form of marketing as well. You know, like calling other wholesalers or other agents, hey, I'm looking to buy, what deals do you have?
Yep.
And I would go to like meetups and do presentations about virtual assistants, how business owners, investors could manage their time better and be more efficient. And I would always get this question. Don't you feel like you guys are becoming a pest calling investors about deals and stuff? Always. Someone in the crowd would ask me that. And I would always turn it back to them and say, I do get that. Some people don't like that. Some investors don't like those calls. But let me ask you this. Are you looking for deals yourself? And guess what they would always say? Yes. And I would say, great. How much money do you have to spend to have someone knocking on your door, calling you, that may have potential deals that you may be interested in. Nothing. You don't have to pay anything.
Yep.
So turn that headache into an asset and say, hey, I'm not looking to sell, but I'm looking to buy.
Yep.
What do you have available?
That's exactly right.
And I would encourage that to everybody. And that has helped me a lot as well, because now, yeah, they don't have something to sell now, but they may want to buy some of the deals that I have.
Absolutely right, man. Absolutely right. It's one of the stories that I often told like salespeople when I brought them in is like just the point was how critical timing is, right? So I forget how many years ago this was now, but I had one rental specifically that I had a really nasty like tenant turnover, eviction, and all this stuff, right? So at this time, it's like I wholesale houses, I flip houses, I'm still buying rentals and everything. And I just went through this however many month-long eviction it took of not getting paid. And then we get into the property and everything. And it's not just like a $5,000 clean out because of all the crap and trash they left behind, but it's like, dude, they spray painted like every wall in the house. I didn't really care too much about that. What pissed me off is they spray painted some of the siding on the house.
Oh, boy.
On the outside. They spray painted some of the sidewalks. So I was pissed. And here's my point. Even though I myself was marketing and wholesaling at the time, I think even at the time I had a construction company. But that was so like mentally draining and exhausting. And of course it was a financial burden too. It's like I hadn't collected rent in however many months. And now I got to spend $10,000 to make this unit ready and available again. If somebody had called me in that like 2-week time frame after I got that tenant out, I would have sold that property for 50 cents on the dollar. Mm-hmm. Even though I had the knowledge, skills, and resources to be able to turn that property around and everything, it was a mental burden. It was a financial burden. I just wanted to be done with it, man. But what happens is, time went by, I got it done. Now the pain is not there anymore. Now it's tenant ready again and everything. Now it's rented back out. Now if you called me 2 weeks after I got it occupied, I'd be like, no, I'm not going to sell it for any less than 100 cents on the dollar, right?
Yeah.
But if somebody called me in that time frame where it was painful, I would have sold it. No question about it. So the question is, how do you hit people at the right time? And there really is no right answer. That's why being a pest is often the best thing you can do, because you don't know what timing is good and what's not.
You don't know what timing is like. And that's why I said earlier, if you want that, go buy Bitcoin, go buy crypto, because real estate is not that magic crystal ball. I would add that if you figure out ways to add value to people when those calls happen, then you're more of a welcome guest rather than a pest during those times. And by that, it could be inviting them to, I don't know, an event, that is happening that may benefit them. Or if you learn about something new, like, I don't know, access to unsecured business lines of credit with 0%. Figure it out, whatever it is, But now you're building relationships.
That's right.
And I can't tell you the number of times when I've had opportunities fall on my lap because something I did that I don't even remember. One example is a project that I'm working on right now. I own the house right next to it, and the homeowner of the property that I'm working on now that I bought called me 2 years after I bought my property. I said, hey, I am ready to sell my house. And I remember how nice your contractors were during that time and how nice you were to me. And I had it in my mind to call you first as opposed to calling anybody else. And I'm like, wow,
Talk about planting a seed.
A seed. And anytime I passed through there, I always said hi, greeted her. So do things without expecting anything in return. And
Maybe it'll come back. Maybe
they'll come back.
Putting
Maybe
that
they won't.
karma out there, man. I
Exactly.
believe in that. I really believe in that.
Yes. So I think with other investors, try to think the same way. How could you add value to them, or just let them know you see them, they see you,
Yep.
and you never know what's gonna happen.
Absolutely. So you mentioned something else there that I wanted to touch on, because you said you were at one point buying houses with unsecured lines of credit.
Yes.
Tell me about that, man.
So everybody knows about credit cards, right? They're the ones that will come knocking on you. And before I used to see them as a pest. Now I'm like, I want to hear about all the banks that are out there and all the offers they have. Because some banks would offer lines of credit. And unsecured business lines of credit means exactly what it is. It's not secured by an asset. It's not, some may require a personal guarantee, meaning like if you have too much debt, they will, come after you so the debt is paid. But by unsecured, it means that, it's not attached to an asset. And usually the interest rates on those is 12, 13%. Whereas the interest rate for a credit card, we're looking at 20, 25, 30%, or 29%.
Yeah.
Really high. With an unsecured business line of credit, you could get up to like $175,000 available. And as a real estate investor, like, bring it on,
Yeah, man.
That's a great vehicle, because you can now go and buy properties. And if you're in a time crunch, you don't have time to use a private lender, or your private lender is tied up with their funds, you could go and tackle your own deals and then refinance or sell them. And you don't have to pay origination fees. You don't have to, go through appraisals. You don't have to go through any of that.
I love it.
It's a business line of credit that you write a check to the title company for that, and then you only get charged when you pull the money out. So even though you're approved for 50,000 or more, that could be sitting there and you're not being charged. You get charged again when you pull that money out. And most people don't know that.
Well, dude, put me on the sauce, because I don't have any of that, right? So if I wanted to set something like that up today, how do I do it? Where do I start?
So reach out to Luis Vanderhorst.
Love it.
I will help you out. But what would happen is, can you go and reach out to banks individually? Yes, you can. But you will have to know which ones offer those lines of credit. We have a team that can help you come up with the package, the portfolio, so that then that is submitted to the banks. We know the banks already that offer those 50,000, 75,000, right?
Got it.
And we do what's called a stacking, where one bank may offer you 50,000, another 150, 125, and the max is 175,000.
Okay.
I didn't learn this in school. I learned this the hard way,
Yep.
talking to investors. Someone,
dude, so this is like a white glove service that you offer as well. Okay.
We have a referral partner we send the leads to.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so I'm not just talking about it. I have used it myself.
Okay.
And one property that I'm working on now, my wife and I, we used the line of credit to buy it outright. Oh, speaking about creative deals, that was a creative one that I forgot earlier. So we bought it for $70,000. We used the $50,000 line of credit to pay off the reverse mortgage that was owed on the property.
Okay.
And then the seller did a seller carryback for the $20,000.
Got it.
So he seller financed that. So we now have the mortgage with him for that small amount, and then the line of credit cover the reverse mortgage. So it's just him and I on the deal.
Beautiful.
We don't have a bank anymore. That is a creative deal that we did, and now we have him as a tenant. So we are able to just deduct from the total that we owe him the the rent.
Like out of his rent. Or
Out of his rent.
Okay.
So it's
Gotcha.
a win. It's a win-win
I love it.
situation. And we did that with a line of credit. I didn't have to go and get it pre-qualified by anybody. That was already done.
Yep.
And that line of credit is for 5 years. So
Got it.
I could pay the 50 and I could use it again.
Yep.
For 5 years. I just recently learned of one that is, get ready for this, 30-year
Really?
HELOC on LLCs.
30-year HELOC for LLCs.
Most,
okay.
Yeah, most banks they offer HELOCs on primary residence, right? This connection that I have offers HELOCs on investment properties.
Okay.
It's like on.
I've started to hear about this in the last
great.
couple of
Like,
months.
research it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't even know it was a product until the last couple of months.
Recently. So what I'm gonna do now is pull those HELOCs on some of my investment properties, and what they recommend is like the greater your equity is on, figure out whichever property you have that has the greatest equity, then pull it from there, because then you have those funds for 30 years.
I love it. I love it.
That you can borrow against and pay it back and things like that.
Dude, that's fantastic. So what's like some of the rates and cost up front to like get that home equity line of credit on investment properties? Like, do a lot of them have a fat origination fee or?
And those are two different products. The first one, which was the unsecured business line of credit, this consultant that we work with, they charge anywhere between, I don't know, it's on a grading scale. So depending on how much you get approved, they will let you know how much it will cost you. For me, I got approved up to $125,000.
Okay.
And I had to pay $5,000.
Okay.
After I was approved.
After you get approved.
Yes.
Okay.
Whereas there are other companies out there that would charge you upfront, and you have no idea if you're gonna get approved or not.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I like that.
And then on the HELOC for investment properties, that is based on, so you get like 6.5%, 7% on those. And they have a grading scale on that one as well, depending on how much involvement there is. But it's very reasonable.
Really?
Yeah.
And what are you seeing that they're doing in terms of like loan to value? Like, are they just going 70%? So let's say that,
Up to 75%.
75. Okay.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So to keep it really simple, and especially for those that are listening, let's say if the property value is $100,000, you have a mortgage for $50,000, it will allow you to pull that line of credit or that HELOC on the 25.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Dude, that's fantastic. That's such an awesome hack to access more capital, because real estate is so like cash intensive, man.
Yes.
Like, it's always good to be able to have access to capital.
Yes.
All right. So my favorite thing, I want to get into AI, man. Let's talk about some AI
People have been
stuff.
waiting for this.
And how is this like the dawn of AI? How did that, the first thing that I'm curious about is how did that affect everything that you were doing with placing VAs?
I realized that some of the systems and processes that we needed were requiring automation. So we were using Podio, for example. With Podio, we had to connect it with Globiflow, set up the automations behind the scenes to be able to have everything, all the systems talking to each other, all the different channels. So I had that prior knowledge with Zapier, Make. My transition into AI started when I came across ChatGPT and started playing around with it and asking a question, seeing what was possible, and then look for ways to connect the two, automation and AI. And to keep it really simple, because I feel like people use both interchangeably, both words interchangeably. Automation is basically, in very simple terms, is if this happens, then do this. AI, on the other hand, is using intelligence, and it relies mostly on the information that it has access to or on the information that you feed it.
Yep.
So based on that, it could come to conclusions. So if you feed it, I don't know, a spreadsheet, it will help you analyze that spreadsheet. It will help you put it into a way that is easy to understand or show you blind spots, stuff like that.
Yep.
Whereas automation doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. Now, you can have both merged together, where there are automations that rely on AI to spit out an output. For example, my calls that I have on Zoom, they're recorded and stuff, and then at the end, it spits out a recap of the conversation and next steps. That is automation, in that the email goes out, and then AI, because AI transcribes the conversation and summarizes it for me along with the next steps.
Yep. I love it. I love it. It's funny, man, because like I had so many things in my business automated by the time like ChatGPT became like mainstream and everything. But I'm kind of like a tech nerd, right? So I wanted to integrate AI into my business so much more than I actually did. And it was like a blessing and a curse, because at the time I realized that basically I did a pretty good job setting up a lot of automations, and I didn't really need AI to kind of make any of our business processes better than they already were. As times have like passed, you know, there's way more use cases now today than there was even a year ago, right?
So many.
But yeah, man, it's just like the possibilities are endless. And so what were like some of the first things that you set up where you kind of like tied AI into workflows that you kind of already had, if you remember?
Yeah. I would say it came with chatbots.
Okay.
Yeah, being able to have chatbots that will help process conversations and be able to be available when I'm not available or my team is available, and then set up the appointment or send that person the information that they're looking for. That kind of morph into other things, but that was like a good way to like, okay, here's a need, you know, here's a solution. Let's see how to merge them together. Because I feel like some people could get caught up in like the AI buzz and be like, oh, I don't know what that AI thing is, but I just want to use it in my business. My question is always like, okay, what are the pain points in your business?
Yep.
Where are you already bleeding?
Yep.
And then we could see if we could use AI for that. And now you're meeting a tangible need in the business rather than just, because you could AI everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But to the point that we talked about earlier, it's like, how do you give somebody good advice to start real estate investing? It's like, well, it's not blanket advice because it's different for everybody. Like if you have a business where you're very people heavy, you have 50 employees and a lot of them are doing like data entry, you know, or any sort of like administrative type of work. Well, okay, those are things that if I know that, I can kind of advise you and point you in the right direction, that you can probably leverage this technology to, I guess this is the part of the conversation with AI overall that people are scared of and hate, but it's like, can replace a lot of those jobs, man.
Yeah. And I think that moving forward, what will happen is that companies will start making AI literacy as like the foreface in their vetting process.
What do you mean by that?
So earlier I mentioned how, number one, I look for like English proficiency. Can someone speak well when I'm hiring? Then like skills, do they have the skills that I'm looking for? And then culture. Can this virtual assistant, this team member mesh well with our culture and our team? I feel like in the future, employers are going to be looking at a fourth step, and it's going to be, does someone have AI literacy? Can they problem solve by leveraging virtual assistants to improve their productivity and be able to help the team? I feel like that's where things are going to be headed.
Yep. Because parallel to that conversation of people just being terrified of AI and, oh, well, we should shut it down because it's going to take everybody's jobs. What's everybody going to do? That's one of the common phrases that you hear is like, well, AI isn't going to replace your job. Somebody that's using AI is going to replace your job. So the best defense is knowing how to use AI. It's the same thing, not just for business owners, but for employees also. It's like, if you leverage the technology, you can become more efficient in whatever it is that you do, like hands down, bar none. And like, people aren't going away, you know, like we're always going to be here.
Yes.
So figuring out how to maximize your own productivity, I feel, is the best advice for everybody. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And then it's going to be hard to fire you.
Right?
Think about it.
Yeah, if I can do the work of 20 people,
you're bringing more value to the table and able to help the company or help your own business.
That's right.
I can't tell you the number of business owners that I have met that have said, like, I'm a year or 2 years ahead of my competitors because I have learned so much, and this has helped me expedite the learning so much that now I'm encouraging everybody, or we bought a team subscription for like the $20 is well worth it.
Oh my God.
Like
Absolutely.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so just do it.
Yep.
Just do it, play around with it. And I do hear people say, yeah, I feel like this might take away my job, might take away what I can do. But think about like all the innovations that are going to come out and are already coming out. Innovations, the new companies, the new initiatives. There's a lot of that is out there, all thanks through the advancement through AI and people that use it at their workplace. And now they have time to spend with their family.
That's right.
They have time to enjoy what they're doing because they're creating systems and processes in place to be less stressed.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And it's obviously more apparent and more relevant right now with AI and tech, but dude, look at anything like through history where there's massive innovation and everything. It's like, I'm sure the guy that bred horses was not really thrilled when they started making cars, you know, but it's like, that doesn't mean that you should not go forward with progress and innovation as a society. It's like, it's kind of going to happen. And with things that become mainstream enough, most people should be able to look at it and have the intuition to say, this isn't going away. This is probably going to grow like wildfire. So I have two options. I can either bitch and complain about it, or I can get behind it and adopt it and learn how to be the best version of myself and increase my productivity.
Yeah. And I know you guys are also using some of it in your software to vet some deals and things like that.
Dude, so here's one of the funniest things about like my software, especially since AI is in the name of it, super ironic. We really don't use that much AI.
No? Oh, okay.
Well, so we do. We have AI integrated, but it's funny, like, as I was building everything, like I used AI a lot as I was kind of building and coding and developing and hiring developer teams and everything and learning some programming languages and all this stuff, right? And kind of just tying all the pieces together. But then once we had like a real working product, again, since I'm a tech nerd, I'm like, yeah, I want to integrate this like fully, right?
Yeah.
But the funny part is like, you really don't need it for most things related to real estate because most of it is just like comps and basic statistics and averages that you kind of already have access to if you have access to the data, which is a whole nother topic and conversation because the data is so fragmented and people just can't access it. Like that's one of the main value drivers of our software and what we do is like, well, in my mind, when I was buying a lot of fix and flips years ago, I was so frustrated. That's why I built this, dude. I was like, it shouldn't be that hard to kind of just go through every property that's available on the MLS and cherry pick what I want if I know a few simple variables. If I know the ARV of a property and I know like the estimated renovation cost, I should be able to do that, right? But you couldn't pull all that together. My point is like, not a whole lot of AI goes into that. What we have as of today is like, we basically have ChatGPT integrated to, if you're looking at a property, you see 123 Main Street, it's kind of got all of its like automated valuations calculated for that property, which is done none with AI. It's all just with, calculated formulas and everything.
Automation.
Exactly. And the AI integration is basically ChatGPT, but in the window of you looking at 123 Main Street. So basically it has access to all of the data that you're seeing on that screen as well. So rather than having a question about a property, you're trying to find a plumber or, trying to find an appraiser, whatever you need, or write a offer to this seller of this property, whatever you need, it's already trained on all of the data that it's looking at right there. But that's pretty much the extent of the AI integration that we have. And I want to do more with it, Okay. But it's like, for what we do, there's really not many other use cases right now outside of, again, to your point, like doing outreach and speaking with sellers or agents and stuff like that, But
that's still very valuable to real estate investors that may not have the time, to do the research and plug in the numbers for each individual property.
Absolutely.
They're able to outsource that tech to you.
Yep.
So that so they can see and evaluate properties at a faster
efficiency.
rate.
Exactly.
Efficiency.
Yep.
That's the nature
it's
of
the
it.
name of the game, man.
Efficiency. How can you do it in a way that is predictable and frees you up to focus on what you're passionate about?
Yeah, man.
And I believe that using ChatGPT and those other different models out there for prompts and testing different things is good, but there is power when you can bring that into a system that kind of houses it for you and helps you analyze your data within your CRM to see which leads, which prospects are worth your time, and who you should be following up later on. All those things are valuable.
Massively powerful.
And we spend so much time trying to figure out, like, the business itself.
Yep.
So now I have to figure out, like, okay, who do I need to touch base with? Like, what was it that we discussed? Let me read all the notes, connecting everything and having it all talk with each other.
Yep.
So that you're making more informed decisions. That's where magic happens.
Couldn't have said it better, man. What is one of your favorite, workflows with AI integrated, or just your favorite use case of AI in general today?
One that we're building is a year-long sequence where it will use automation and AI. So it will, we're on the final stages of it. It will rely on custom values to come up with emails and messages based on the objectives or challenges that someone is looking for. And then it will nurture them based on that and create the emails based on those custom values and spit it out effortlessly.
I love it.
So that's something that I'm really excited about. But on the basic side, I like the chatbot, something that I feel like is so simple. I even posted about it on Facebook. And I like that you have it set up. Is how much time do we spend trying to book a time with someone? It's like, hey, are you available this date? No, I'm not available. What about this date? Or what about this time? Forget
so
that.
inefficient, man.
Inefficient. Right? What if you just create a calendar that is connected with your calendar and it syncs with your availability? Then from there, someone could go in and look at a time that when you're available, book themselves in, and then it spits out the Zoom link and the email reminders, all of that, as opposed to going back and forth so many times. That is a very simple but powerful automation that I feel like a lot of people overlook.
Yeah, man. I think that's probably one of my favorites as well, because I'm just terrible at scheduling things anyway. So like, if you ask me like when's a good time,
both.
Dude, like I'll spit something out and it's not going to work. Like it's not going to be a good time. It just, oh man, I'm eternally this way, and I don't think there's a way I can get better. But you know, things like this.
And people ask me like, oh, what led to you starting your agency or doing this? And it's because I'm terrible myself. So I had to create the systems for me to thrive in that system, because otherwise I'm all over the place.
Yep.
And it's hard for me to keep track of things. So I'm passionate about this, because if it wasn't for it, I'll be a big mess.
I fully understand. So earlier on, you mentioned Podio is what you were using as a CRM. Then are you still using Podio today?
No. We kicked it to the curb.
Yeah.
We have our own CRM that I built out with my team, and it's a white label of Go High Level.
Okay.
We customized it to fit our model in real estate, and also based on what some of our clients are looking for. And I like Go High Level because it's customizable in that you don't need to be researching PHP or these different code language to be able to create something.
Yep.
Is a plug and play sometimes, or if you are familiar with workflows and automations, you can set it up yourself if you have the time, without having to like go into it and like look behind the scenes, set up Globiflow, all of that. And there were a lot of things that were breaking, and it was causing delays. Yeah.
I fully understand.
Yep.
Fully understand. It's funny, like, I forget what year it was, but prior to moving to Podio, I was using FreedomSoft, and we got to a point that it was like, we were just limited on the ability to customize things, right? And I wanted some more reporting. I wanted some more automations. It just weren't really possible. So I spent, I don't know, however much money, like probably 6 months of my life, and, you know, it wasn't cheap, right? Like probably 10 grand with a developer setting up this custom Podio to overcome all of the obstacles that I had, right? And I forget what happened. There was like an issue where I think we were sending text messages at the time, never outbound. We never really did outbound texting. Not never, we did, but not at that time. Okay. It was mostly like text message follow-up or whatever.
Okay.
But we had so many leads in our system that, let's just say, 1,000 or 1,500 follow-up text messages went out every day. And in our previous CRM, it's like there was so much A2P stuff going on at the time. And basically like we got blocked. And I just got to a point where one day I was like, fuck it, we're switching to this new system. Like it's not really fully done, fully ready, but we'll be good. We just spent 6 months building it to overcome all of the shortcomings of our old platform.
Yeah.
And dude, that was probably one of the biggest mistakes that I've ever made. Like in wholesaling, it was like dropping a bomb into my fucking business.
Wow.
Cause it's like everything was like, and we did, like we finished it and everything was well polished within, you know, a week or two of jumping over to it. But what I didn't take into consideration is even like the learning curve for my sales reps going to a new software. It's like, well, the button I used to click to make a call was here. Now it's over here. And it's like everything was just retraining, relearning, setting everything back up, and then issues and, you know, misfires with automations. Every issue you could imagine went wrong. And, you know, this is all happening like in hindsight, right? It's like I'm always looking back at like the 3 months prior, And dude, our revenue just dropped off a cliff because now my salespeople were no longer selling. They're trying to learn how to use the system and everything. And it's like, to me, it was easier because I worked closely with the development team to make it do what I wanted it to do. But I know that in hindsight, the reason that I looked at it from that lens is because I am very techie. Most salespeople are not techie, man.
Yeah.
They don't want that. Like most salespeople, if you just give them a Rolodex and a phone, they can go out and make some money, man. Like all
and that's
technology,
how we should keep them. We should empower them to just go do that.
Make it so easy for them to just do what they want to do and not inundate them with tech, you know?
Yeah.
Love that.
And that was the downside I realized with Podio, that it's so customizable that you could go down a rabbit hole with it.
Absolutely.
And we needed something that was customizable, but yet kind of like in a box, that it was like a safe space for us to play and build in.
Yep. I love that. I think Go High Level is a fantastic platform. And I would have switched by now, honestly, even with my wholesale business. We use a different CRM for the software. But for my wholesale business, I would have switched if I didn't already have in the back of my mind that I was killed my business once. You know, it's like, it's better. It'll work better. I even thought about switching back to our previous CRM because, dude, we got to a point like we were bringing in like 30 contracts a month with our old system. And I was bitching about how it wasn't good enough. Now in hindsight, it's like, obviously it worked fantastic, dude. You know?
Pros and cons of everything.
Yep. But we want to improve things because that's what we do. And we see the ability for technology to make life easier. But to that point, sometimes we improve things that don't need to be improved.
Yeah.
You know?
If it's working, you know, what's that phrase they say?
Ain't broke, don't fix it.
Ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
I want to ask you this real quick, related to AI and coming from a background as a teacher. How do you think that's going to play a role into education? I mean, remove business from it entirely. Education of students in the next couple of years.
I think our students are going to be more advanced than what teachers realize. Just because, I mean, I didn't have a phone until I was in sophomore or junior year of high school. And I didn't get a car and a laptop until I was in college. Some of these kids, they got iPhones in 5th grade or a lot earlier, you know? So that has been an accelerator of their learning because now they have so much information at their fingertips. With education, I believe that the kids will learn things a lot faster. And how you and I grew up is you want to learn something, you go on Google and type it, and you have to do the work.
And you have to parse through what is relatable to you and the way that you learn.
Look at what's relatable, what's real, what is fake, what's misinformation. Nowadays, you get a summary of what you're researching. And there are some people that they have completely thrown searching to the side and focus more on asking their questions to AI to get the answer that they're looking for, as opposed to going through the BS of advertising and all the other stuff to dissect the information. Now, students are going to have access to that same information. And I believe that that's where a lot of innovation is also going to come, because things that used to take us a long time, they're now going to be able to get those answers a lot faster and have more time to develop, be creative, and hopefully solve problems that we only dream of solving.
I fully agree.
And as a business owner, we should embrace that. Like, if you're using paper and pen, you're going to go through a rude awakening.
Fully agree, man. Like, thinking back, I I didn't fit in school with the way the education system is built. Like, I'm ADHD like a motherfucker, right? And I'm all over the place.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
And, now, like, I don't think I read a book until I was in my 20s, like I just wasn't a good student. And it's not that I was stupid. It's that the education system that we have is just not designed for people like me, But now I think with the dawn of AI, every education system for a student has the ability to be fully customized to that student, right? Like,
yeah,
I didn't realize how I learn until I was probably like in my late 20s, like I was learning things obviously as a kid. And then I started learning more once I was like, in business, and I kind of had to learn and research things and read books and how to get better and everything. But I didn't learn how I learned until like my late 20s. And I think if technology can figure out how do you learn as an individual and cater all of your educational programs to that, it's like, dude, you're going to advance at a rate like 20 times greater than anybody else that's in a group coaching or education setting, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's crazy, man.
There was one time when I had 30 students in my classroom. 30 for me to manage.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of kids. And it's hard to be an effective teacher with a classroom that size, because not everybody is the same. We have different learning styles. We have different abilities. We have different drivers. And on top of that, like in teaching inner city, one child's biggest concern is not like that they didn't have a pencil for school. It's like, we might be moving when I get home, or I didn't have food at home, or I don't know what's gonna happen with my cousin. They may get locked up or whatever.
Yep.
So if they have bigger fish to fry, and here I am trying to teach, it was hard for me, and also I can imagine for other teachers, it's hard to connect with them and meet them where they're at, and take them from here to where I want them to go if we are not personalizing that experience wherever they're at now, so that we can bring them to where we want to take them. And I think that's what is going to change. Like, this AI stuff is going to disrupt every industry out there.
Yep.
It already is.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So to tie that into everything that you're doing today, because like you said, you run an agency and everything, like, who is it that you are best suited to serve, to help today?
Real estate investors, because we can add value to real estate investors in different ways. And I'm a real estate investor myself. However, I also have clients that are in the home service business, like roofers, contractors, chimney sweeps. And that has been like my focus, real estate investors and home service businesses.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So to dial in on that more effectively, right? So anybody that's listening, watching, they know, hey, I am the person that should reach out and hit you up. Is it like flippers, landlords, wholesalers? Like, who stands to reap the most value from what it is that you offer?
I call them the silent struggler. They're realizing that they need help, but don't know where to start. We can sit down with them, do an assessment of their business and help them identify those areas where they could grow. And lately we have been phasing out of the virtual assistant matchmaking, because that's what my agency was for the longest time. And now focusing more on providing like a done-in-a-box solution for businesses. And that is through a CRM service.
Got it.
Yeah, where they don't have to be techie, no coding. We're providing them a solution that has AI and automation built in to help them with their business.
Dude, I love that. I love that. So I just want to go through a hypothetical here. So let's say I am flipping whatever. Let's say I'm flipping 3 houses a year, and I want to, tying into what we talked about earlier, I'm still working a W-2. I'm flipping about 3 houses a year part-time, and I have no organization. I have no systems. I have no processes. I have no software. I have no technology. And I come to you and I say, hey, this software stuff, I know I need to get it set up. No clue what to do, how to do it. What is your advice, and like, how are you kind of setting that up for me?
With that particular scenario, it's best to, figure out what is it that you need, and then look at ways to incorporate it. So for someone with doing some flips, they will need a way to keep track of phone calls, text messages, emails, agreements, things like that, invoices.
Yep.
Even reviews. If they're building their business, they may have a Google My Business listing and want to build up that. The CRM we have found to be the best option for someone like that, because then they could do it all from one location. And if they are bringing in team members, it's really easy to go and look at the history and see how things are run in that business.
Absolutely. I love that. And that's why I gave you that as a hypothetical instead of like a wholesaler, because with a wholesaler, it's much more clear and easy to define. And it's like, well, of course you need a phone system and everything needs to be logged and tracked, and you have to have notes with each seller that you're speaking with. But I would bet that most people that fit into that demographic, there's probably a lot more flippers or landlords that have, a couple properties under their belt and everything, that they have no technology and software. Like the wholesaler needs it, right? It's like you don't need to educate the wholesaler on they need it. They already know. The flipper and the landlord, that there's probably a lot more of, are more likely to have no systems and processes. And they think, what do you mean I need like a phone system? I have a phone in my pocket, And there's so much value to be added to them. To your point, how are you going to grow a team when everything that you're running is through your cell phone and not through a business phone system,
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that, because it is the nature of things. Wholesaling is not just assignment of contract. You're in a sales and marketing business. Sales and marketing, that's what wholesaling is. And people realize it, that they need a pipeline, they need a phone and all that. Whereas these other investors still need that, but don't realize it because they're not doing so much volume.
Exactly right.
But these 2 hours here, 3 hours there, couple minutes here, eventually add up.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And that's one of the best things that I did early on, setting up like my fix and flip company before I even went to wholesaling, was just like, dude, as simple as it sounds, like just digital file storage. It's like having a folder in Google Drive or OneDrive that it's like everything is laid out. Like this folder is for pictures. This folder is for agreement of sale. This folder is for appraisal. And that's what I do every single time. Like I can't imagine not having that, but I have so many friends that own like 50 rentals, and they have none of that. Like they're a mess, It's like you need to leverage technology.
And one way you can bring in AI and automation into it, for let's say leases, for example, you can have a lease template and set up custom fields that will be filled out based on the contact.
I love it.
It saves you so much time.
Yeah.
To just fill in those custom fields and then hit a button, and that lease goes out. It hits a recipient's inbox. They could go in and it guides them through. It's like DocuSign on steroids.
Absolutely, man. I love that. It saves so much time.
Saves you so
and
much
again,
time.
The argument that somebody's going to make is, well, come on, man. I only sign, I don't know, 3 leases a year when I have turnover or anything. What's it really take? Like 30 minutes to sign that and fill that out? It's like, yeah, but you just saved an hour and a half worth of time over the course of the year. And as you do more, because everybody intends to do more, buy more, you're saving more time exponentially as you progress.
Yeah. Yep.
So I love that use case. That's one of the things that we do and my software does as well, is basically like fill out agreement of sale with all of the data and everything. And basically all you're plugging in is your offer. And rather than spending 45 minutes making an offer on a property, it's like you do it in 4 seconds. And, you know, like I think 5 of the 6 last deals that I personally use our software to buy off the MLS, we're doing exactly that, you know?
That's awesome.
Like I can't imagine now, and I tell people this, and a lot of them have a hard time wrapping their head around it because the idea of making an offer on a property that they've not walked yet seems terrifying. But I'm telling you, man, to me, it's terrifying going out, looking at a property, trying to set up, you know, access, get the lockbox, do all this stuff, go out, meet a contractor there, come back, run my numbers, put together an agreement of sale that's going to take me a half hour and everything. Dude, by this time, I have 4 hours invested into this property. Just to find out, I send that offer over and the agent goes, oh, that went under contract this morning.
Yeah.
Dude.
That's infuriating.
Yeah, man. And I've had it happen many times. It's like, no, I would very much rather just send my offer, have them accept it. And knock on wood, to date, I haven't like gotten anything under contract where I then went out and walked and I was like, oh man, I screwed up. I shouldn't have offered this much money. I haven't had to kill any yet, but you know, it's just saves so much time.
So much time.
So,
and you guys, you're an investor yourself. You know, you're an investor with a product for investors. The same thing as us.
Yep.
It's a, you know, you're using your own platform and tweaking it. It's I look at systems, software as a never-ending journey.
Yep.
As long as whoever is behind the company is an investor or, you know, someone involved in an active business themselves, you're going to reap the benefits of those changes, those upgrades as you use that product or software.
Yep.
Yeah. And to give you some additional use cases, one of the questions that we get as landlords is like, especially if you list something online, is this available? We get it all the time.
Do people ask that? Is that a question?
All the time. You can have a workflow that triggers a chat bot where if someone texts a phone number or calls a line, AI can engage them and answer those frequently asked questions. Because everybody's going to be asking you this, when is the showing? How much is the rent? We're using this now with a property management company that we're helping. The same questions all the time. So if you could have that automated, then you could focus on other tasks that are going to drive revenue to your business. Meanwhile, fulfillment is being handled.
Yep.
And now you could train AI with simple language to answer those questions and create a next step for the person. Do you want them to book a call? Do you want to capture their information? All of those things, and it saves the manual work of someone having to go in and answer that and then move that history into your storage.
Yep.
All of that could be automated.
Dude, it's so huge. It's massive. If somebody wants to reach out and learn more about how you can help them set that up for their business, where are they finding you?
A good way is I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty active on there. They can find Luis Vanderhorst, and my last name is Vanderhorst for those that are listening. Don't ask me how. Spanish first name, Dutch last name. Not sure what happened there. And they can also email me at info@outsourcemylife.us.
Okay. I love it, man. That's fantastic. This was an awesome conversation, as I knew it would be. You're a wealth of information.
This was great. Thank you for having me.
Man, anything else you want to plug before we wrap?
No, I feel like the best interviews are the ones that flow naturally, like a normal conversation, and that's how I felt here. So thank you for having me.
I love it, man. Thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate you.